Greetings and welcome to you this day for our daily Devo on Tuesday, the 9th of July today. Our devotion is entitled About Giving. About Giving. And it comes from the Charles Dickens work entitled The Mystery of Edwin Drood. Drood. Never heard of that one before. I'm thinking he must have a lot of short things that didn't, get into books. I'm not sure. I don't know. But again, I'm surprised, constantly surprised how much I don't know about Charles Dickens and his works. About giving. Always something in the nature of a boil, and that's capitalized, Boil. Always something in the nature of a boil upon the face of society. Mr. Honey Thunder, unique names. Mr. Honey Thunder expanded into an inflammatory when in Minor Canon Corner. Though it was not literally true that he called aloud to his fellow creatures, "Curse your souls and bodies, come here and be blessed." Still, his philanthropy was of that gunpowderous sort that the difference between it and animosity was hard to determine. You were to abolish military force, but you were first to bring all commanding officers who had done their duty to trial by court-martial for that offense. You were to abolish war, but were to make converts by making war upon them and charging them with loving war as an apple of their eye. You were to have no capital punishment, but were first to sweep off the face of the earth all legislators, jurists, and judges who were of the contrary opinion. You were to have universal concord, and were to get it by eliminating all the people who wouldn't or conscientiously couldn't be concordant. You were to love your brother as yourself, but after an infinite interval of maligning him, above all things, you were to do nothing in private or on your own account. You were to go to the offices of the Haven of Philanthropy and put your name down as a member and a professing philanthropist. Then you were to pay up your subscription, get your card of membership and your riband and medal, and were evermore to live upon a platform. Totally lost in that one. I'm assuming that it's Mr. Cannon, Mr. Boyle, who's supposed to have done all these things and didn't carry through. About giving. Here are some thoughts from Gene Fisher, who always sheds some light for us on where this comes from and what the setting is. Disingenuous philanthropists appear quite often in Dickens's novels. Mr. Luke Honeythunder is an example of one of these shady characters. Even his name is a dichotomy. Dickens portrays Mr. Honeythunder as loud, overbearing, self-important, and insincere. If Jesus had been there to give unsolicited advice to Mr. Honeythunder, he might have repeated this from his Sermon on the Mount, quote, "Be careful not to do your acts of righteousness before men to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." And that's from the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 6, 1 through 4. Later on in Matthew 7:12, "In everything do to others what you would have them do to you." Everybody knows that one. Do unto others as you would have them do to you. The golden rule. Have you ever met a philanthropist? You have if you know God. I like that. He is the greatest philanthropist of all. James 1:17 and 18 tells us every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of all he created. The word of truth is God's greatest gift to us, his Son, Jesus Christ. 2 Corinthians 9:7, God loves a cheerful giver. God loves a cheerful giver, and Mr. Honey Thunder did not seem very cheerful in his giving, in his philanthropy. He gave it grudgingly. He gave it angrily. There were these positive things he was to do, and instead of doing those, he did just the opposite, very negative type things. And in this giving that Jesus commends, you remember the time in the temple when he sat watching as people came in and gave their money, gave their tithes, gave their offerings there in the temple. And the rich came in and they made sure everybody heard their sack of money clink down into the receptacle for the money to be given. And meanwhile, a widow shows up. She gives her last 2 cents. Jesus calls her out, not calls her out in a negative sense like we think, but he points her out to his disciples. What that woman just gave, basically, he says what that woman just gave was more than all those rich people gave. How can he say that? He can say that because they gave, and yet they still had so much more that they could give. Meanwhile, even though she gave little, it was all she could give. She'd given her last 2 cents. That's giving. That's giving. That's the kind of giving Jesus has given to us. He sent his Son as a sacrifice for us. He gave the highest. He gave his utmost. And of course, there's that well-known devotional, my utmost for his highest. And that's how we need to respond as well. Not that we're earning anything, not that we want to get some kind of recognition for being wonderful people who give, but just because we want to show love like we've been shown. That's at the heart of giving. That's at the heart of giving a tithe, but more so it's at the heart of giving an offering over and above the tithe. We give out of love. We give out of a desire to show love. Blessings to you today. Giving. I'm going to go off again here. I had a professor who said repeatedly, if you want to know who is Lord of someone's life, look in their checkbook. That stuck with me. College is way behind me these days. But I remember that so very clearly. Dr. West, who gave so many wise things like that to us. Blessings to you today.